Appellants: V Meta Platforms, Incorporated, a Delaware corporation. Defendant: Appellee. Number 24-1672 DC number 422 CV00051 Opinion Appeal from the United States District Court for the Northern District of California. Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers, District Judge, presiding, argued and submitted December 4, 2024. Seattle, Washington. Filed April 28, 2026. Before William A. Fletcher, Marcia S. Berzon, and Ryan D. Nelson, Circuit Judges. Opinion by Judge R. Nelson. Concurrence by Judge Berzon. Concurrence by Judge R. Nelson. Summary: Communications Decency Act of 1996. The panel affirmed the district court's dismissal of plaintiffs' putative class action against Meta Platforms, Incorporated, alleging that anti-Rohingya content spread on Facebook incited violence against them and their villages in Myanmar, and that Meta designed Facebook to encourage this bad content. The panel held that plaintiffs' claims were barred by the immunity Congress granted to online companies under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which protects Meta from claims that seek to treat it as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. First, the panel held that Section 230 applied to plaintiffs' claims under California's choice of law rules in this diversity case, assuming California's choice of law rules could demand application of Myanmar's rules of decision rather than Section 230. The panel concluded that plaintiffs failed to carry their burden to show that foreign law applies. Myanmar's interest in protecting its citizens from harmful attacks and misinformation on Facebook was insufficiently incorporated into the positive law of the country, and therefore Myanmar's interest did not predominate. Section 230 immunizes from liability: 1. A provider or user of an interactive computer service. 2. Whom a plaintiff seeks to treat, under a state law cause of action, as a publisher or speaker. 3. Of information provided by another information content provider. Barnes v. Yahoo, Incorporated, 570 F. 3D 1096, 1100-01, 9th SIR 2009. At Step 1, the parties agreed Meta was the provider of an interactive computer service. At Step 2, each of plaintiffs' claims sought to hold Meta responsible in its capacity as a publisher of third-party content. At Step 3, Meta did not make a material contribution to or develop the third-party content at issue. Accordingly, Section 230 barred plaintiffs' claims. Concurring, Judge Berzon, joined by Judge W. Fletcher, stated that this court's precedent has unduly expanded the scope of Section 230 immunity, and has stretched the term publisher in Section 230 past the point of recognition. She urged this court to reconsider en banc precedent extending Section 230 immunity to recommendation of content and connections to users. Concurring, Judge R. Nelson wrote separately to address two issues. First, this court has overread Section 230, straying from the original public meaning of the statutory text and creating an all-purpose liability shield for Internet platforms. Second, state choice of law rules can never direct application of a rule of decision contrary to federal law. Because Section 230 is supreme to state law, it controls even if California's choice of law rules point to a conflicting foreign rule. Counsel Roger J. Perlstadt argued, and Ryan D. Andrews, Edelson PC, Chicago, Illinois, for plaintiffs' appellants. Kristen A. Lindsley, argued, Wesley S. and Rosemary T. Ring, Gibson Dunn and Crutcher LLP, San Francisco, California. Patrick J. Fuster and Perlette M. Jura, Gibson Dunn and Crutcher LLP, Los Angeles, California. Jacob T. Spencer and Christian Dibley, Gibson Dunn and Crutcher LLP, Washington, D.C., for defendant appellee. Opinion, R. Nelson, Circuit Judge. For decades, the Rohingya have faced discrimination and violence in Myanmar. After Facebook was introduced there in 2011, anti-Rohingya content spread on the platform. Plaintiffs allege that this content incited violence against them and their villages. They argue that Meta designed Facebook to encourage this bad content and that Meta should be held responsible. We deal from the start with the immunity Congress granted to online companies under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996. C. 47 U.S.C. Section 230. C. 1. Section 230's grant of immunity protects Meta from claims that seek to treat it as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. We conclude that, under this court's precedents, Plaintiffs' claims treat Meta as a publisher of third-party content and are therefore barred by Section 230. So we affirm the district court's dismissal of plaintiffs' claims on this ground. Capital I. Plaintiffs are members of the Rohingya community, a largely Muslim ethnic minority population indigenous to western Myanmar who were displaced from their homes following attacks by military and civilian forces. The Rohingya have long been violently persecuted in Myanmar. Plaintiffs allege that the persecution has worsened in the last decade, resulting in genocide at the hands of the Burman ethnic majority and the government. This action centers on the allegation that Meta is to blame for fomenting the increased, pervasive violence against the Rohingya. Capital A. Plaintiffs allege that Meta, through its social media platform Facebook, played a role in the Rohingya genocide. 1. When Facebook was introduced in Myanmar in 2011, Meta partnered with telecommunications companies to preload Facebook onto mobile devices sold in the country, thereby allowing tens of millions of Myanmar people to access the social media platform. Plaintiffs allege that Meta's mode of operations in Myanmar increased the risk that Facebook would be used to stoke violence in Myanmar. They assert that Facebook did not have a Burmese language platform interface or terms and conditions. This omission meant that users could not report misinformation, hate speech, or calls for violence. Plaintiffs also fault Meta for not actively monitoring Facebook in Myanmar, in part because it lacked enough content moderators competent to do so. Plaintiffs also allege that Facebook's core design and function exacerbated these harms, encouraging the creation of violent posts. Plaintiffs point to Facebook's implementation of an algorithmic content delivery system in 2009 that promoted toxic posts because users were more likely to interact with them. According to the complaint, people interact with toxic posts more because they play to users' negative emotions, allegedly, to maximize user time and so the viewing of revenue-generating advertisements. Meta adjusted its algorithms to boost negative content over neutral or positive content. Not only did this policy boost the time users spent on Facebook, it also encouraged users to post in a certain way. When users published negative or hateful posts, they saw notifications and high post engagement, such as likes and comments, what plaintiffs call social rewards, and were encouraged to post more such posts. To illustrate the point, imagine a user creates 2 posts on Facebook. The first is Binain Say, a recipe for a traditional Rohingya Masur Salan fish curry. The second contains false and inflammatory claims about Rohingya conspiracies to harm Burman Buddhists. The second post will allegedly receive more engagement, likes and shares by incensed Burman nationalists, comment wars, angry reactions, and so on. Because users have engaged with it more, the second post is boosted on other users' feeds, where it gets even more attention, and the original poster is encouraged to post more anti-Rohingya conspiracy content instead of recipes. The cycle continues, and the information system is flooded with vitriol. Facebook's algorithm might be the same everywhere, but plaintiffs' theory relies on the assertion that the Myanmar people are particularly susceptible to this alleged implicit encouragement of toxicity. Plaintiffs allege that the Myanmar people lack basic understanding of how to make judgments on online content and were thus digitally unsophisticated and incapable of navigating Facebook's information environment. So susceptible were these people that they responded with real-world violence and genocide. Plaintiffs do not allege that Facebook's 2009 algorithm boosted certain posts specifically because of the company's content preferences. Under plaintiffs' theory, Facebook's algorithm promoted toxic content to all users to drive up engagement, reflecting the universal human instinct, for hatred and divisiveness. Capital B. Jane Doe 1 filed a putative class action in California state court claiming strict products liability and negligence and seeking at least $150 billion. Meta removed the case to the Northern District of California and moved to dismiss. Meta argued that plaintiffs' claims were untimely, barred by Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, and failed on the merits. The district court dismissed the complaint without prejudice, identifying general pleading deficiencies related to timeliness and the merits. Plaintiffs then filed an amended complaint, adding claims for negligent product design and aiding and abetting other torts. Meta moved to dismiss the amended complaint on timeliness, Section 230, and merits grounds. The district court dismissed the amended complaint with prejudice on timeliness grounds. Plaintiffs appealed to. We have jurisdiction under 28 U.S.C. Section 1291. An order granting a motion to dismiss is reviewed de novo. Zelmer v. Meta Platforms, Incorporated, 104 F. 4th 1117. 1122, 9th Sir, 2024, and we accept all plausible allegations as true. Ashcroft v. Iqbal.